What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Death Stranding, because Hideo Kojima's weird solo project has finally been officially released, and I cannot stop playing it. This came out late last night, and I've been playing it till the sun comes up because I am just so invested in this strange new universe and all the new mysteries that are being unfolded before me. Now let me just say right up front, I find Death Stranding to be a very entertaining game, but it is certainly not fun. This is something that feels like almost a documentary or an art piece, which to me, I'm completely fine with. The point of this video is I want to try and dig into what the first 10 hours of the story has been like, what I think about the gameplay, and if this game is really worth buying, because so many people seem to be a little bit lost on the concept of what this is supposed to be. Now, right off the bat, we do have to acknowledge the fact that this is, of course, a Hideo Kojima project, the inventor of things like Metal Gear Solid and Boktai. This is a guy who loves to make storylines that have lots of twists and turns and nanomachines, and to be completely honest, Death Stranding is about 1,000,000 times more wacky than any of that. In fact, if you just take a second to acknowledge the fact that the main bad guys are these things called BTs, which are like ghost, baby, zombie, attack monsters that are invisible. Come on, I mean, you just kind of have to acknowledge that when you go into this game, you need to be able to just sit back and allow yourself to just be washed over by the waves of information. People spend a lot of this game just trying to explain what's really going on because there is just so much undelved into science. Now, what I'm saying is, a lot of times when it comes to things like movies or books, what you typically have is there's one character who doesn't understand the world. This can be a character who's like younger or somebody with amnesia, and the purpose of this character is that by everybody just explaining things to him, it explains things to us. Like when we see Anakin Skywalker walking around and talking about the Force for the first time, it's telling us, the audience, what the heck midichlorians are. Well, this game, it doesn't do that. At no point in Death Stranding do people really sit you down and say, hey, this is precisely why you are doing this. And I think that it's part of the reason that a lot of people seem to be having trouble talking about it. People seem to be enjoying it, but it seems like a lot of the reviewers are a little bit taken aback by a game that doesn't really dumb things down. Now let me just say, this is not me actually saying, this is a game for intellectuals. Only the highest caliber of gamer minds can possibly fathom its depths. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that this is a very clear example of games as art. A lot of stuff out there like the Master Chief Collection or Luigi's Mansion, these are games that are just trying to make you smile or laugh at a cool jump scare, and this game doesn't do that. I'll be honest, in 10 hours, I don't think I've ever smiled. This is not a project that's trying to amuse you, but instead I think is trying to get across some pretty heavy themes, and for that it requires an incredible amount of focus. Now just for a bit, let's talk about what the actual gameplay is, because this is something that I think a lot of people are hating on, but is part of the reason that I am personally so addicted to it. So the hero we play as is Sam Porter, a delivery man, which sounds like a very mundane job, but in this universe, being a delivery man is actually the most hostile, because everybody is basically dead already. There is very few people left on the entire planet, or at least that's the way it seems like, because there has been a mysterious event that took place a couple years ago in unspecified amount of time, which was called the Death Stranding, where apparently the explosion that created all life, there was a second explosion that now created a new wave of death. This left the entire world in literal shambles as we see the broken ruins of society all around us, and the only way for people to even possibly survive is to work together in the most spread out way possible. You can have a city here or a tiny little outpost here, and by trading the very limited supplies you manage to stumble upon, like Oxycontin or antibiotics, it makes it where both of your societies can continue to struggle on. Now, part of the reason that people don't decide to just get together and form one massive megacity is because there is a problem with death. At this point in the story, about 10 hours in, I still don't know exactly why, but for whatever reason, dead bodies like to go supernova. I mean, literally, if you do not properly incinerate a dead body within 2 days of the person dying, it will explode like an atom bomb and wipe out a city, which means that you need to keep people in tiny groups and closely monitor them. Everybody needs to keep an eye on each other to make sure we're all happy, healthy, and well fed. Because if anybody croaks, then you're all going to die a nuclear death. So part of the reason that porters' jobs are so important is not only are you trying to run supplies back and forth and special messages back and forth, but additionally, sometimes you need to be the guy to get a body out of freaking town and burn it before it's too late. Now, Porter is actually a very special person as well, because not only is he strong enough to carry about 800 pounds of metal on his back and be relatively fine, but apparently he has a special ability where he is immune to death. Okay, so things can come up and like beat him up until his heart stops, he can run out of blood, but when that happens, you just respawn. You go through a thing called the seam and are able to be reborn, which means that a lot of times you can die and come back, but when you die, it's also going to cause an explosion because, hey, every human that dies causes a void out. These world-building elements are very, very interesting because, in my opinion, individually they make no sense. The idea of people trying to burn bodies and avoid like flying ninja skull people, that is strange. But when you get all of it together and keep it in one giant Death Stranding package, it actually makes perfect sense. Even things like the BTs, when you're trying to sneak around, the BTs are drawn to life, which means that when you're trying to sneak past them, not only do you need to try and be as silent as possible and keep yourself low to the ground, but you can actually hold R1 to hold your breath, making it where they can't even sense the fact that you're still alive. These mechanics make it so that the world feels more intense. It makes it where the Legos that construct the wall that is Death Stranding comes together in a really fundamentally functional fashion. I do think that something that is a little bit weird is that you don't really do a lot. For the most part, you are just kind of walking around. Yes, as the game progresses, you get things like a really sweet motorcycle or the ability to get like these extended ladders and go up to new points. There's all sorts of side quests where you can meet new characters like Jeff Keighley, Whoa Whoop-De-Doo, or Conan O'Brien. But more than this, I think that the reason that this game is so alluring is those moments where you're just out here walking around. The world is just so screwed that it's almost like a fascinating time capsule to see it, to watch a world that's just so far past the brink. Everybody at this point is so decimated that recovery is practically impossible. So just seeing a world where even the plants die when this like time acceleration rain falls, it's so cool to watch plants growing and dying, moss spreading across people, seeing humans that are forced to commit suicide rather than being captured by the BTs. There is so much insanity built into every single second of this that even when you're just wandering around and kind of taking in the sights and sounds, it's amazing to see what Death Stranding is. Yes, I am a little bit disappointed that this isn't like Metal Gear Solid 6. It's not as contained as that, and yes, it's not as straightforward as the canceled project Silent Hills probably would have been, but I'm still very, very entertained. Is this a good game? Honestly, yes, I would say that this is a fantastic game. It does a lot of stuff that is different than what you may expect. There's not going to be a ton of combat, there is a couple boss fights, but more than that, this is a game that's about just trying to be an interactive art piece. I want to end this video with a statement that may not be liked by that many people, especially if you're enjoying Death Stranding, but part of the appeal of Death Stranding is that I think games like this will not come along very often. They take such a huge budget, so much trust from studios that it's kind of additionally fun to play it in a different way because you know you're not going to see anything else like it. And I think that's probably for the best. So I'm going to be playing this game for the rest of the weekend, non-freaking stop. I'm going to see if it's possible to just beat this by Monday. If this video gets like 2,000 likes, I'll try and do like a huge 20-minute review of the game, talking about all the ins and outs on Monday, just kind of analyzing everything about it. But if you're seeing this and you're curious my thoughts, definitely buy it if you're ready for a weird ride. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Oh my gosh, I literally, the first time I had to do the mini game where you shake the baby to make it feel better, I thought my eyes were going to fall out of my head. This game is Bizarro Land. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, you know, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.